Hey Mayfair, I'm here with Ken Crosina today, our director of tennis. And Ken, can you tell us a little about yourself and your accomplishments?
Absolutely. I've been with Mayfair clubs for 7 years. Prior to that, I was out in the suburbs, out in Oshawa for 25 years. My playing background, I grew up playing tennis. Actually played as a junior at Mayfair Parkway for about 5 years. I was ranked number 1 in the country for a couple years in doubles and number 5 in the country for 3 years in singles. I won the feeding consolation at the Nationals for 3 years in a row. They used to call me Mr. Consolation. I'm not sure if that was a great nickname, but I lived by it.
So Ken, can you tell us why you picked tennis as your main sport?
Well, it's funny, when I was younger, I actually picked hockey because my dad, your grandfather, was a hockey player. And he kind of put a little bit of pressure on me to play hockey. So when I was 12 years old, I quit hockey and I signed a deal to play with Agincourt Lions in Single A. I played 3 games, got crushed into the boards, got into a very physical, almost fight altercation, although I didn't throw any punches, but the other guy certainly did. And after 3 games, I came home and I said, too rough for me, tennis is my sport. And I immediately went back to playing tennis, and I believe that is the time that I joined Mayfair Parkway and joined their junior program with Gus Villanueva. A lot of you longtime Mayfair members will remember Coach Gus Villanueva. He was my coach at Mayfair Parkway.
So Ken, I understand you have some involvement with the Rogers Cup. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I've been involved with the Rogers Cup for almost 30 years now, 29 years to be exact. And for the last 11 or 12 years, I've been doing solely stadium court at the Rogers Cup as their master of ceremonies. And in the last 4 years, I took over as the announcer and the master of ceremonies for the Rogers Cup on stadium court. So basically what I do is I introduce all the players. I talk to them a little bit about the do's and the don'ts and the things that they do around the grounds. I do 6 commercials yearly. You've probably seen them if you've been to the Rogers Cup. I drive a camera car that has 6 cameras in the car, and it's just the player and I, and they edit them into 90-second commercials. And it's just the players kind of talking about life on tour and what it's like to be a professional tennis player. And I guess my biggest thrill is doing the trophy presentation on the finals day. Although I get very nervous a little bit in front of the TV cameras and the North American audience that watches coast to coast. It's a great thrill to see the players up close and personal and to kind of see how they are when they win, and even how they are a little bit nervous having to do their speech in front of the cameras and in front of the live audience, which is usually in the range of about 12 or 13,000 people from the Aviva Center on center court at the Rogers Cup. Great thrill for me, but also a little nerve-wracking from time to time as well.
Can you tell us your fondest memory of playing here at Mayfair as a younger player?
Absolutely. I actually have 2 great memories. One was playing on Court 1 at Mayfair West in the semifinals of the Nationals. I played a player by the name of Andrew Schneider. He went on to be number 45 or 42 in the world. We had a bit of a rivalry going. He was making some really bad line calls, in my opinion. Erwin Tobias was the tournament director at the time. And at one point in the second set, Andrew Schneider hit a ball that bounced in the center of the court. I grabbed the ball and I called it out. And he went absolutely crazy, started screaming and yelling. And I basically said to him, "Stop cheating me, I've had enough." And from that moment on, he didn't cheat me again in the match, and we actually became pretty good friends because I think I gained some of his respect. So as a competitive side of things, that was my fondest memory at Mayfair West. My fondest memory, I think, as a player was playing in a father-son tournament at Mayfair West with my dad. I was about 19, maybe 20 years old at the most. My dad would have been about 52, 53 years old. I had a lot more hair back then, and we had a great event. We lost in the finals of that tournament to a family by the name of Ken Sinclair and Bob Sinclair. Those of you in the tennis world will know them. Ken was always one of the top players in the world for his age. We had a great run, and my dad wasn't really known to be the most stylish player, but he got the job done, and we found a way to make it all the way to the finals. So that was a great event for me, and a good moment and memory that'll stay in my heart and mind forever from playing at Mayfair West.
Do you have any solid tips for beginner players?
Absolutely. I think the most important tip for a beginner player or somebody that's new to the game, or somebody that maybe played in high school and is coming back to the game, is to hit the ball as high over the net as possible a lot of beginners and entry-level players and people coming back to the game tend to want to hit the ball hard and low. The net is only 3 feet high in the center, but above the net you have 30 feet before your ball is going to touch the roof. So hit the ball with good height. We tell our high-performance kids, our best kids in the country that are training 15 to 25 hours a week, to hit the ball 4 feet over the net. So if those kids that are playing that much tennis can hit the ball 4 feet over the net, a beginner player needs to be aiming for the ball to go over the net 6, 7, 8, 9 feet, because that way they're going to be successful. That way they're not going to hit the ball in the net. Their rallies are going to last longer. They're going to have more fun. They're going to become fitter tennis players. And then eventually, as they get better, they'll start to drop the height of the ball down a little bit to become a little bit more aggressive. But to start with, height over the net is the most important tip for any beginner player or entry-level player. Now I'm going to step on the court with a beginner, Nakimbe, and give her a few tips on hitting the ball a little higher over the net and becoming a little bit more successful on a daily basis with her tennis game. Get there. Nice, good shot. Perfect. Okay, now let's put you all the way back. So you can see right there, Nakimbe started out nice and easy, not hitting the ball too hard. Okay, ready? Swing now. Good. That's it. Just take your back a little further. We want a little bit more of a full swing. There you go. Finish that swing all the way through. There you go. Okay, now we're going to take her back and we're going to see if Nakimbe can hit and rally from the baseline. Okay? Excellent. Good shot. Look at that. 6 in a row. Okay, tennis. It's not just for advanced players, it's not just for intermediate players, but beginner players too can play, and Mayfair has something for all skill levels at all of our locations. Tennis, it's a sport of a lifetime, and Mayfair's in it for life. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any major takeaways from your long tennis career?
That's a great question, Noah. I think number one, if I could do something differently, I would have spent more time working on my weaknesses. So my backhand return to serve and my backhand ground stroke were two of my sort of Achilles heels when I competed and played. And because I was so competitive, even in practice, I didn't spend enough time working on them because I always wanted to win, even in practice. So I would have spent more time working on them, and I think it would have taken my career a little bit further. And I think one of the most positive takeaways I have is all the friends that I made from over the years of playing tennis. They're still my friends today. And I haven't played junior tennis now for 35 years, so it's been a long time. But all of those guys that I competed against and girls that I competed against as a young player, they're still my friends today, and they're living in Vancouver, across the US, in Europe. We all still communicate via Facebook and everything else, and we all still play against each other in league play and things like that. So I made great friends, and I'm fortunate to be able to step on a tennis court still every day at Mayfair and play the sport that I love.
Amazing. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your day to answer these questions for us.
Thanks very much.